Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back into Gamecock Central. Kendall Smith joined alongside of Wes Mitchell here for a little SEC Media Day breakdown. Just yesterday, the Gamecocks were up in Nashville, Tennessee for their 2023 Media Day. And Wes, there's certainly a lot to talk about. You and I both were not in attendance, unfortunately, but you see it everywhere. You see it on TV, you hear it on the radio, you read about it on GamecockCentral.com. So, Wes, we got to start broad and then we'll kind of reel it back in. But just yesterday, there was a lot that was discussed. But what were some of your biggest takeaways from Shane Beamer in the Gamecocks at Media Day on Thursday?
Yeah, Kendall, I think we've both been around long enough now to know Shane Beamer has a purpose with what he says in press conferences and media settings. And I'm noticing a trend. And so I've started writing this down. But Beamer has been telling us all, I think, maybe what keeps him up at night as he thinks about his first two seasons at South Carolina and the season ahead. At some point when Beamer talks to the media, whether it's been welcome home tours, whether it's been press conferences, or whether it's been media day on Thursday, he has brought up these three things most of the time. And that is one, consistency or lack thereof. The fact that he keeps bringing up South Carolina scored no offensive touchdowns against Florida. Then they scored 63 points against a team that should have or was going to be in the college football playoff the very next week against Tennessee. He talked about that after season one as well, the ups and downs, the roller coaster. So inconsistency is something South Carolina wants to solve this year. Turnovers, mainly the fact that they've turned the ball over way too much on offense. They've been excellent at getting the ball off of teams defensively, but on the offensive side, way too many interceptions, way too many fumbles the last two seasons. So he's been talking about that a lot. Three, Kendall, he continues to drive home the point that freshmen are going to play this season. He's made it a point to say freshmen will play at almost every position, if not every position. So when Shane Beamer says that, I take notice. This is one of the most positive coaches I've ever met, one of the most positive dudes in coaching. So when he says, hey, guys, we're going to be playing some newcomers, we're going to be playing some true freshmen, that means to me, without saying it, that Beamer is saying, all right, guys, let's dial this back just a step. Let's wait and see where this team is. Let's not quite crown them with crazy expectations yet. So to me, those are the three things that continue to stand out about everything Shane Beamer has said this offseason to this point.
Well, you think about last year and the impact that Nick Eamon-Wari and DQ Smith and several others had on the Gamecocks. I mean, Shane Beamer is not afraid to put a freshman out there. So when he says it, you got to think to yourself, all right, he's probably telling the truth. And, Shane Beamer, like you said, is one of the most positive coaches that you and I have ever been around. So positive that they actually put out a little graphic here. How many times did coaches use the word excited in reference to the season? Shane Beamer
Number
used the
one,
word excited 15 times yesterday. He was number one among all SEC coaches using that word at SEC Media Day. So he's pumped up not only about the freshmen that are coming in this year for South Carolina, but what's in store for this 2023 season. And you said it just a minute ago, there are high expectations for South Carolina. Just earlier today, the media preseason polls came out, and South Carolina was selected to finish in third place in the SEC East. Wes, do you think that's a fair assessment for the Gamecocks as we head into the season?
yeah, I do think it's fair. I think for the most part, you have obviously Georgia at the top in the East, and you have Vandy at the bottom in the East. And then to varying degrees, you could make a case kind of all jumbled up in the middle for a million different orders of the other teams, I think. And, yeah, people are probably a little bit down on Florida this year compared to what they maybe usually are. Missouri never really has high expectations, but you can still make a case for that those teams may overachieve. So I think as far as what you expect, as far as fairness, this makes sense. Does it mean it's going to play out this way? Of course not. That's why we're going to play the games. We're going to go all find out together this fall. But I do think it's fair, and I think the media were kind of reactive for the most part. Like, people will look at what they saw last year. They'll bring that forward to this year. And when you consider all those things, you could probably have predicted that this is what the SEC media was going to predict. Obviously, Tennessee still a program that has some buzz. I think anytime you have an offense like they do, people are going to talk you up. And interestingly enough, even though they lost Hendon Hooker, lots of positive pub around Joe Milton for Tennessee as well. So I think that's really what pushed them up into that number 2 spot.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, Spencer Rattler finally making his SEC Media Day appearance. Last year, I was down in Atlanta, and unfortunately, Spencer was not there last year. People know this, but they typically do it based off of seniority and who's been around the program maybe a little bit longer than others. But of course, you can't go this year and not take Spencer Rattler. He's the face of your program. So he makes it up to Nashville for Media Days. And what were some of the things that you took away from what Spencer said yesterday, Wes?
I thought, for one, this was just a good opportunity for Spencer to kind of be introduced to the more regional and sometimes national media people that have not really been able to follow his journey up close. Like, I know you've interviewed Spencer in Garnet Trust opportunities. Chris and I have as well. Just kind of being around him a little bit, getting to know him. He's carried himself extremely well in his year plus in Columbia. I don't know if everybody else really has got to see that side of Spencer yet. So they sort of saw the mature, the professional, sort of almost NFL type quarterback as far as how he carries himself in those settings that we've gotten to see the last year or so. So I thought that was good for him. I think, I don't think he's ever going to give you too much as far as a quote that's going to be a headline or is going to be interpreted wrong. So he was kind of guarded as far as that goes. But a lot of it was similar to what he had told us the week prior in our latest Garnet Trust interview. And that's that he really likes these playmakers. He likes the guys around him, is getting comfortable in this Dow Loggins offense. And, for the most part for Spencer, I think there's not really a lot left to say. It's just about going out there, putting it on the field, and can you carry over what happened last year? And I did like to take it back to turnovers. I liked how Rattler was like, hey, put that on me. Like, this is on me. I will own the turnovers on offense, even though we all know looking back, 100% was not all on him by any means. But that's what you want from your leader. That's what you want from your quarterback. Even if he knows in the back of his mind, hey, that one wasn't all on me, just taking that ownership, I think, is a great sign for Spencer Rattler.
Well, we brought up the freshman earlier, and Spencer Rattler gives a big shout out to Elijah Caldwell yesterday, wide receiver from the state of South Carolina, Northwestern High School down in Rock Hill. So interesting to hear him say that as well. And that kind of jumped out at me. We've talked about Nick Harbor so much over these last few months, dating back to when he was making that decision between South Carolina and Oregon. But to hear about a guy who was originally committed to West Virginia, makes the flip to the Gamecocks, and now he's making a big impact this summer, that's really promising for a lot of Gamecock fans to hear. Again, you're going to get some of that younger talent that's coming in this year, and they can make their mark. But we talk about some of the younger guys coming in, and that brings us right back to recruiting. It's something that was talked about yesterday during media days, and obviously things have been a little bit slow for the Gamecocks this month. There's been a lot of momentum in the program from a recruiting standpoint since Shane Beamer took over as head coach, but this month we're not seeing the welcome home tweets. Shane Beamer said it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. He didn't seem too concerned about it, though obviously he said he would like to see those welcome home tweets too. But Wes, from your perspective as a recruiting insider, what is your level of concern with the lack of commitments over this last month?
First of all, Kendall, I liked his answer because he did admit, hey, I would like to see more welcome homes too. It wasn't one of those things where he just gave you the blanket, hey, there's nothing to worry about. Why aren't we even talking about this? This is much to do about nothing. He said, hey, I'd love to be landing a couple of these guys we've missed out on. So I appreciated the honesty there. But he is right. It is a marathon. It's a roller coaster is really what it is. And, if South Carolina had steadily added the guys that they added during that big push back towards the beginning of this calendar year, then I think that momentum, that the perception of it would be, oh, South Carolina just landed a Cam Pringle. They just landed a Wendell Gregory, Mazio Bennett. For them, it was all kind of clustered together. So then what happens? Fans get a little bit impatient. When's the next guy coming? I think the big thing for fans right now is just missing out on a guy or two that maybe you had penciled in your mind as, hey, this guy's possibly going to be in the class. So for me, I think the key is can they close out on some of these guys that we've been talking about for a long time. Some of these misses or quote unquote misses are guys that maybe South Carolina wasn't even in great positions with in the first place. You look at guys though like Dylan Stewart, you look at Daniel Hill, you look at Jalewis Solomon, who I think South Carolina has quietly positioned themselves actually in a pretty good spot with as his decision comes up. Whether or not they can land these guys, I believe is going to determine how the fans feel exiting the summer going into the actual season. And we'll see if they can make another sprint with Jonathan Paylor. Obviously, that's a guy. I understand why fans are upset there. They were in a great spot to land him. Now it feels like NC State has the momentum. That one's not over yet. We'll see what happens there. But certainly when you're recruiting guys for a year, for 18 months, when you feel good about it, when fans start to think about the possibilities, I can see why they're upset. It's like we always say Kendall, about fans. The entire reason that they are upset is also the reason that they come out and they support your team and that they're there and that they're at the Gamecock walk. So that passion kind of goes both ways. You love that passion on Saturdays, but you are going to have to experience the other side of that passion sometimes when the roller coaster is not going the way you want it to.
We still have a while until signing day comes up. So there is still a lot of time for South Carolina to pick up some more guys in that class of 2024. And as always, we'll keep you posted over on GamecockCentral.com. Everyone's doing a great job over there. I, of course, missed you guys so much during media day yesterday. Wish I could have been there in Nashville. I'm here in Charlotte now working my full-time job, but I'll be back August 19th, one day and one day only, for the Gamecock Central Kickoff Party. It's the third year in a row. It gets bigger. It gets better every year. We have our VIP tickets on sale now, so visit GamecockCentral.com for more. They don't want to miss out on this event, right, Wes?
Oh, I'm pumped. I've spent the last 2 weeks trying to figure out, all right, how are we going to top last year? Because last year, the first one was awesome because it was the first one. Last year, it went to a completely different level. Honestly, a lot of that was thanks to Garnet Trust and being able to have actual current student athletes out there. That's the plan again this year. Kendall, we had an NBA draft pick out there last year. We had several MLB draft picks out there last year. Probably some guys that will be future NFL draft picks. So the hope and the plan, we're going to release those names as we go along and actually, once we lock in with their schedules. But we're going to have some big names, some guys that fans will want to hang out with. And, of course, Patrick Davis will be playing as, the finale there, the headliner. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. Looking forward to it. And as you said, I mean, I was going to set it up for you, but you already gave it away. Kendall Smith will be in attendance as well. We'll see if she arrives on time or not.
Wes is giving me a hard time for last year because I showed up late because we had a baseball game. But this year we don't have a baseball game on August 19th. So I will be there in full force. Can't wait. It's my first time back in Columbia since graduating in May. So I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody, to seeing my GC fam, and I better see you all out there too. August 19th, Gamecock Central Kickoff Party.
Get your tickets now.
Get your tickets now. Wes, talking season is almost over. It's almost time for football.
Thank God.
Right down the street from where I'm currently sitting right now, September 2nd, South Carolina, North Carolina, Duke's Mayo Classic. It's going to be the best. We'll talk about it plenty more on Gamecock Central, but that's going to wrap it up for our Media Day conversation. He's Wes Mitchell. I'm Kendall Smith. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you soon.